Ukrainian commander-in-chief, in a wide-ranging interview with The Economist, acknowledged that the war in Ukraine is a stalemate and that there will most likely be no Ukrainian breakthrough. Just like in the First World War, we have reached the level of technology that puts us into a stalemate, the general said. There will most likely be no deep and beautiful breakthrough. Ukraine gained no significant territory in its counteroffensive that was launched back in June. Media reports and leaks revealed that the U.S. did not think Ukraine would have much success, but the Biden administration pushed for the counteroffensive anyway. Ukraine's commander also confirmed both sides can always see the other coming, thanks to modern technology. The simple fact is that we see everything the enemy is doing and they see everything we are doing. In order for us to break this deadlock, we need something new. This bombshell comes after Time magazine revealed that the Ukrainian president's closest aides believe he is deluding himself into believing Ukraine can beat Russia. As the world is focused on the war in Palestine, the war in Ukraine is fast going down the same route the Afghan war went when the U.S. got bogged down in Iraq. The U.S. Department of Defense announced that it will begin working on the development of a new nuclear gravity bomb. The Defense Department clarified that the decision, which is dependent on congressional approval and funding, has been made after an extensive period of assessment and review and is not a reaction to any current event. The primary objective of this decision, as stated by the agency, is to respond to the shifting security landscape and evolving dynamics in the global security arena. In a press release announcing the plans, Assistant Secretary of Defense for Space Policy John Plum emphasized the need for this new kind of weapon. According to the Federation of American Scientists, the explosion of a 360 kiloton yield weapon would lead to considerable radioactive fallout that would encompass vast geographic areas. Whilst the U.S. criticized Russia and China for nuclear tests and increasing their nuclear stockpiles, the U.S. is also expanding its nuclear arsenal. On a visit to Israel over the weekend, Secretary of State Antony Blinken pushed Tel Aviv to allow a humanitarian pause to allow aid into Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejected the proposal. During his trip, America's top diplomat pushed Israel to agree to limited humanitarian pauses to allow aid into Gaza and facilitate negotiations for Hamas to release prisoners. But Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu rejected the proposal and said there would not be a temporary pause in the fighting. A humanitarian pause is different from a ceasefire. While a ceasefire would bring an end to fighting, the pause proposed by the White House would only halt fighting in select areas of Gaza for a few hours at a time. Netanyahu rejected the proposal, saying, "Israel refuses a temporary ceasefire that does not include the return of our hostages." Netanyahu's heritage minister went further and explained one of Israel's options in the war against Hamas was to drop a nuclear bomb on the Gaza Strip. Differences are beginning to emerge between the U.S. and Israel, but for the moment the U.S. has not exerted pressure on Israel to change course.